So I'm going to be reading this book called The Buddha, an alternative narrative of his life and teaching by Mukunda Rao. And this is part of a chapter from the book. It goes like Mara, the fear of death. Mara is that movement of desire or fear in the form of the ego that creates an illusory sense of separation from all things. This is the first and last mystery that has to be penetrated and overcome to attain enlightenment. Mara was the last frontier Gautama had to cross to reach nirvana. The Buddhist tradition dramatizes this critical motion in the form of a battle against Mara and his forces, daughters, charmingly called desire, unrest, and pleasure. This Mara is not Angra Mainyu, Satan, or some evil force outside of the human consciousness. He is the enemy within. One's own self as a barrier constricting the free expression of life and energy. From within the perspective of the Hindu and Buddhist enlightenment traditions, we may even see, metaphorically, Mara's encounter with the future Buddha as the meeting between Yama, the Lord of Death, and Nachiketa in a different time and place. Nachiketa talks with Yama and seeks the knowledge of the Brahman. In response, Yama says, "Even the gods were once puzzled by this mystery. Subtle indeed is the truth regarding it. Not easy to understand. Choose some other boon, O Nachiketa." In an almost similar way, we can see Mara offering Gautama the sovereignty of the whole world as he will renounce Buddhahood. Like Nachiketa, Gautama also rejects Mara's offer of pleasure and power over the world. In Buddhism, as in all Indian Enlightenment traditions, the ego is regarded as the movement of pleasure, not in the Freudian sense, but in the sense of craving for or clinging to things or tana. The ego is what binds one to pleasure and pain, death and rebirth. It is this overcoming of fear of death, of pleasure movement coming to an end, and the breaking of the chain of bondage that the legend dramatizes in the form of a fierce battle between Gautama and Mara. Sitting under the Bodhi tree, Gautama remains silent and still against Mara's ravings. For any movement of thought in any direction only adds momentum to the self and strengthens it. This is the act of seeing. You cannot fight and win over the self, because combat is the stuff the self, Mara, is made of. But when there is no reaction, there is no space for the self to move and play around or wage battles. As a result, the self crumples up and burns itself without a trace. That is the death pang to the self, the dissolution of fear, the seeking and awakening into a state of being where the egotistic mind, Mara, is no more the dictator, no more the centripetal and centrifugal force of Buddha's consciousness. Once this happens, seeing, which triggers action, once the ego gives way, the incarnated energy within the body is released, an explosion of energy, and the human being is transformed. Over 7 days, 7 night watches, Gautama is believed to have undergone radical changes before entering the state of nirvana. It is of crucial importance to note that upon coming into the state of nirvana, Gautama did not say, "I am liberated," but it is liberated. When I knew and saw thus, my mind was liberated from the taint of sensual desire, from the taint of being, and from the taint of ignorance. When it was liberated, there came the awareness it is liberated. I directly knew birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived, and what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. The use of the pronoun it indicates that Gautama, as a person, as an identity caught in the web of samsara, had disappeared. Life, the life energy that had been conditioned by culture, caught in the binary modes of thinking and living, birth and death, was liberated. There is no other in this state of being. All is one, with no boundaries or frontiers, and the individual becomes not divine or God, but fully human.